Hello everybody, this is Travis. Welcome to Tpull's Corner. The deck today that we've done is kind of paradoxical, but hey, here's the guy that we wanted to focus it on. Ratadrabic of Urborg, a legendary zombie wizard. He's 3/3 with Vigilance and Ward 2. Other zombies you can draw Vigilance. Whenever another legendary creature you control dies, you create a token that's a copy of the creature, except it's not legendary. And it's a 2/2 black zombie in addition to other types, other colors and types. And somebody went with almost 250 cards. How come their pet gets to sit out in front like that? That's really far out. Yeah, get back over where you belong. So we've got a lot of legends in this deck. Take advantage of Ratadrabic. And before I forget, welcome to everybody. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. And everybody, please like. Go ahead and take longer to watch the video, see if you like what we've got. This is kind of cobbled together. This is going to be part of the existing playlist called Decks That Beat Me. I was really distracted the night I was playing against this deck. And I looked up and there was like 50 Shieldreds somehow. And I don't know how they did it. So there are probably aspects to this deck that I haven't fully figured out yet myself. But I think I have 3 copies of Ratadrabic, and I've been looking for an excuse, right? A reason to go ahead and try and use it. So this is what I came up with. One of the potential drawbacks for making decks like this, well, playing decks like this, is you can come up against a lot of quick aggro that just knocks you out. Like the more creatures you have out, the better this engine gets, because they can all interact with each other. And if you're dealing against a bunch of 1/1s, it can be tough to get things going. Or, you know, they just have a massive amount of removal and you never get your engine going because whatever you put. But we'll see if we can get it going here. Relic of Legends gives us 1 mana of any color, so we should be able to cast Malicious Malfunction and get rid of all the little 1/1s. And then we can still save Shieldred's Edict for a bigger creature that they tap out to put down, perhaps. Although with stuff like Deathbonnet Sprout, it makes me think that their entire deck is full of graveyard recursion. Which, that's what happens when I try and make a deck that delves into the graveyard. I can't make a tight 60-card deck with that. I always end up having like 120 cards or something at least. So he's got Prowler involves milling, Deathbonnet Hulk involves self-milling. And he's already made sure to get a Turn the Earth in there, which allows him to get his choice of cards from out of the graveyard. But the cool thing is, let's see. Braids can survive a Malicious Malfunction. So let's just do that. Because we have Relic of Legends, we could have actually tapped Braids for mana and brought down Elisil Core. Because we've got the white mana there. We're not going to do anything. But this also gives them, they have 4 unused mana, so if they want to get rid of something now, they can. Mostly land in there right now. I'm not sure they'd use Turn the Earth for anything. But they're doing better than us on land. Are you really not going to... They're not going to do anything still. Huh. Very curious. Alright. Let's go ahead and get rid of these 2. Does that move you to do anything? I'm suspicious. Okay. Okay, we're done. I still need all my land. I've got a land destruction deck idea involving braids. I think I need more copies of braids. I think I need all 4 copies. I only have 2 right now. Okay. Sacrifice. Auto pay. We'll tap the creature that just came in. Make them lose their underdog. And that lets us go ahead and tap them for 3 points of damage finally. Always assuming that they don't have removal to use against us. But now, we've got Ratadrabic down, so if they want to get rid of braids... And there I could have sacrificed and made them lose 2 life and let me draw a card, and I would have gotten a token braids back. But I'm still exploring this deck. I'm not sure if that's really the proper play to do in this situation, or just force them to use removal, and then hopefully they use it on braids, so we still get the braids back, and they don't use it on Ratadrabic. That's what the word 2 is there for. Wizards designed this card to hopefully make it stick around to actually use its special ability at some point. Alright, let's do this. He just quit. Okay. I don't know those cards, but possibly they made a mistake by making that size. Sometimes it's hard to control a deck that big. Sometimes, I mean, in Historic, I run up against 250 card decks all the time, and they seem to have all the land that they ever could want, and they cast whatever color they feel like they need at the time. I get slaughtered a lot by huge decks in Historic. Modern Standard, I'm not so sure that they work as well. Alright, let's go ahead and show you what we got. We're kind of creating a resurrection circuit with some of these cards. And it's a bit of a paradox, because when you think of legendary cards, you don't normally think of tokens as much, but we're actually built around the idea that we don't mind if our legendaries get turned into tokens. Hence the name of the deck is Token Legendary. Token Legends. Okay, so let's give you the overview first. We got average mana cost is 3.2, 17 creatures, 25 lands. And we have 3 Relic of Legends, so that we can tap any legendary creature that we control to add 1 mana of any color. We do have 2 Plaza of Heroes that if we have enough mana, we could sacrifice Plaza of Heroes, save a legendary creature with hexproof and indestructible. And we also have 1 Ashnod's Intervention, which if they do have removal and we have 1 black mana to spare, we can, when the creature dies or is put into exile, we can return it to our hand. What else we got? We got a little bit of removal. Go for the Throat. 2 copies of Sheoldred's Edict. We've got 4 copies of Elisil Core, Sadistic Pilgrim. Death Touch. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Whenever another creature controlled dies, each opponent loses a life. 2 Blood Tithe Harvesters. They can sacrifice themselves, and then they got the blood tokens. Whenever they enter the battlefield, they create a blood token. And X is always going to be twice the number of blood tokens you control. So if there's 2 blood tokens, you can sacrifice a harvester and it'll be -4/-4. Blood Tithe is not legendary, so he does not benefit from Radadrabic. We've got one copy of Cut of the Prophets. For casualty 3, we can cast a copy of it, draw X cards, and lose X life. 2 copies of Braid's Frightful Return. So we're using Braids. We've got a lot of Braid stuff in here. First chapter, you can sacrifice a creature. If you do, opponent discards card. 2, return a target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And 3, target opponent may sacrifice a non-land, non-token permanent. If they don't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. 1 copy of Morbid Opportunist. We expect a lot of death, so this is one of our ways to get card draw. Braids is also a way to get card draw, right? You can sacrifice at the beginning of your end step any one of these: artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. The opponent has the choice. They can sacrifice a permanent that shares the same permanent type that we just sacrificed, or they can lose 2 life and let us draw a card. You just saw us use Malicious Malfunction. Let's get rid of all the pesky 1/1s. And another one, you get rid of them, Path of Peril. And we would be able to use white mana as well to pay the cleave cost and destroy all creatures if needed. Fable and Mirrorbreaker, the 3rd chapter, gives us a Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, and that's a known combination with Blood Tithe Harvester to keep just creating duplicate copies of the Harvester and sacrifice them with haste. We've got 2 copies of Kaya the Geist Hunter. We can do a +1 and give everybody Death Touch till end of turn. And if we have creature tokens, we can put a +1 counter on a token. Or for -2, if 1 or more tokens would be created under our control, twice that many tokens are created instead. So if we've got Radadrabic out and a legendary creature dies, and we had the presence of mind to cast the -2, then we get 2 tokens that aren't legendary. So 2 copies of whatever died that are 2/2 black zombie creatures. And those zombies do not have decayed, so they don't go away. And if we get to the ultimate -6, exile all cards from all graveyards, then create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying for each card exiled this way. So if we were going to run up against a graveyard recursion deck, maybe this would have been the one way that we could have dealt with those graveyards at some point. 1 copy of Sheoldred's Restoration to return a target creature card from our graveyard. We would lose that card's mana value unless we had enough to pay the full 7 mana cost for its kicker cost. In that case, we would actually gain life. We have our 1 copy of Sheoldred the Apocalypse, who's legendary. 2 copies of Jaxus. We can discard a card and create a token that's a copy of another creature we control. Radadrabic itself. 3 copies of Illicit Shipment to go basically search for whatever card we want. 1 copy of Cruelty of Gix. We can make opponent reveal their hand, choose a creature planeswalker, and make them discard it. We can search our library for a card. It costs us 3 life, but we get to put it into our hand. And finally, we can put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under our control. It doesn't have to be our graveyard, and this is one where we can read ahead just like Braid's Frightful Return, because this is from the Dominaria expansion. So we can read ahead and skip the chapters if we want to. And finally, 2 copies of Liesa Forgotten Archangel, who is also legendary. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. And when our creature's opponents die, they get exiled, which is another way to keep stuff from going into the graveyard for our opponent to get back later. And so it's nice to set up this Radadrabic with Liesa, because if we've got both of them on the field and one of our other legendary creatures dies, we get a copy token from Radadrabic, and the original goes back up into our hand, so we don't really lose anything. In the meantime, we want to hold on to Ashnod's Intervention for one of these 2. And there are ways to get copies using Jaxus or Reflection of Kiki-Jiki as the game goes on. So that's the essence of the concept. We'll see if we can do it justice. We have seen just getting 3 legendary creatures out at one time will make the opponent scoop. That can happen. Let's see if we can get into an interesting game that gets into the mid-game where they don't instantly scoop, but we get a chance to show the potential of the deck. I think I'm a little light on creature removal, perhaps, but I'm hoping I have a good mix because I don't have a ton of creatures. If I wanted to put more reaction or interaction into the deck, it would have to come at the cost of another creature. Okay, so they get rid of Eelis Core. I'm kind of okay with that. I'm not going to use my existing removal. And I can't really put Kaya out now. She'd just be a target for the creatures. But if I can get one more black mana source, I can do Malicious Malfunction again. Just like last match. So how long will it take me to get the right color of mana? Now would be perfect. Did not get it now. So we're waiting. Raptor. So we get rid of the Initiate now because the Initiate can get higher than 2. Bingo. Clear the board. And they're exiled. That's great. Now we're cooking with gas. They could have another removal. Instead they have that. What do I want to do? Basilica Shepherd does not have Toxic itself. I guess we just put out Jaxus. And I feel okay with attacking with Shieldred, because the 2 mites can't block, and I've got an Ashnod's Intervention in my hand. Their earlier little mono white aggro managed to knock us down quite a bit, so I can't really play it too safe with Shieldred. I can't just let her sit there the whole match. She's got to do some work. We're already kind of in trouble, aren't we? Two copies of that. I don't have a creature in my graveyard. Cruelty of Gix is actually kind of useless for me right about now. And Kaya doesn't help me much either. I am really stuck. So we have to go look for something. And I think Liesa would be a good choice. Ooh, they're willing to do it with everybody. Okay. I didn't expect that. I thought they'd just fly over and hit me for 4. What are they doing? Yeah, none of those are going to get through. Okay, now I think we can afford to put Kaya out. Because we have legendary, so that'll cost less.
Time to crash a vampire wedding.
This
and
will
I
only
brought
cost
a pointy
1.
gift.
And it tells us there on the upper right, you can see cost modified to 1 white mana. And we've got the 1 black mana for Ashnod's Intervention. I don't have a token creature yet. But we can +1 to everybody. And see, none of those are tokens, so I just submit 0. So we're just plussing up our
Just how I
Planeswalker.
showed you. You got this.
Okay. They should use it on their flyer. Perfect. That's what we want. They should go for the kill, right? Ashnod's Intervention there. Get +2. So everybody dies. It's attack. We get Liesa back. We get to go here. And they quit! Because they were top decking and we had a whole hand of cards. So still not quite able to show off the entire concept of the deck, but we did show you what I had stated at the front we would do with Liesa, protecting Liesa with Ashnod's Intervention. So it is clicking. The pieces are working. And I do like getting Malicious Malfunction up front. Another large, oversized deck. Got the tap land first. We don't have a 1 mana play. We're ready against tokens, non-tokens, and planeswalkers. And we're up against the usual stuff, huh? Let's go ahead and just exile that one. If it was just a single strike, I might be tempted to take a poison counter or two, but they threw away everything. Top 3 cards. They all went into the graveyard. Okay. We don't need to show off Plaza of Heroes just yet, but we can put down Ratadrabbic. And they shouldn't have removal just yet. I mean, there are some 2 mana white destruction cards. We're not planning to attack with Ratadrabbic. Not right away. Fair Basilica, that would come in tap though. I want to get Liesa out now. And now we don't mind attacking with Ratadrabbic, because if they kill it, it just comes back up into our hand thanks to Liesa. Now they might have an exile spell, that's a risk against Liesa. But we do have another copy of her in the deck. I am not impressed. Still not impressed. So they're going to be half dead. And we wait to see what they're going to do. They're matching us land for land. Have a Brook Caretaker. Shoot. If I'd have known that, I would have done that earlier. That's a little bit too much land. But that's a token, right? This, we're going to have you sacrifice a non-token creature. And Hexproof doesn't save it when the opponent is the one that has to make the choice. Then we draw a card. Excellent. It's not often we beat decks that come up with an on-curve Avabruck Caretaker. But they did whiff at that tapping at the window. They should be on defensive. We shall see. You shouldn't be trying to attack with anybody. They do anyway. You know what? That just comes back up into my hand, so don't care. We really just had you get rid of something. And now we just gained 1 life. I'm not sure what card they're expecting to save them. I was going to say, I would have expected at this point they had to go ahead and chump block. This gives them 1 more chance to top deck something next turn. But with this combo out, even a board wipe doesn't really put them in the clear. Maybe if they have Farewell. Farewell would do it. Nisa instead.
Soon, all fight beside us.
Man, Magic's engine has trouble with that one, doesn't it? So what do they didn't have the full 4 mana, right? So they had to pay some life for that. Do I have anything in my graveyard right? I did actually. Cruelty of Gix is kind of not a useful card right now. But I don't need to tempt fate, right? I can just go ahead and fly over her head with Liesa, because the token does not have reach. So that will be game. Kind of easy for us because we got the circuit there between Liesa and Ratotrappic, but we didn't actually have to demonstrate its use just yet. Let's try one more time. And what I might do is, when I have more time, maybe I'll go in and do a sample round with Sparky, just because that'll give me time to set up the engine and properly demonstrate it if we can't do it in real time here. At this stage, Magic's been around for a couple years. If we get anybody like me who knows when it's a hopeless case, it's very hard to get them to stick around. I learned this when I did the original art saga. If you want to check out the original art playlist where we try and make good use of Errant Street Artist. We could not, even if we did not attack our opponent with, we had some very impressive creatures out at the time. we would not attack, and they would still not stick around. So they would get to a point where maybe, you know, we started to draw a lot of cards, and then they'd leave. And it's like, okay, you could have like stayed and had some fun. Let's see. Let's just read ahead to chapter 3. Let's not hold this hoping to get more use out of it later. We'll see if they like their cards. They do like their cards, so they just let us draw. Kami usually means it's a very enchantment-heavy deck. And a cheap deck. No, we're not going to trade right now. I'll trade with the Welcoming Vampire. They don't want that trade. And I don't have the white mana that I need. Okay, the enchantment boosting begins. And we are decided disadvantage without the right color mana. So let's go ahead and trade out the swamp. Because one more swamp just isn't going to do us any good. Still not quite what we needed. I can get braids down. And I guess I'm just stuck on defense. Yeah. Make them get rid of something. That way at least they'll get rid of the Hopeful Initiated and they won't be able to pump it up. They've got evasion there, they've got overpowering there. I've only got a turn or two left. These ended up being dead cards for me. No way they were gonna be of good enough use. So we make the trade there just to last. And they already got Catilda, and that is the wrong mana. And what can we do? We could bring somebody back and cost us more life. Yeah, that's it. We're basically done. I mean, we could draw a card, but it wouldn't do us any good at this point. They're all far and away above what we could do. And it's not good when you get your most expensive cards up front. Unsatisfied. We actually flooded out with extra land there. Alright, let's try one more. I feel like there's so much potential with this deck if you just get a couple of pieces out together. Can we do it? New Capenna rules, we have 3 colors. We got the 3 colors to use. They're gonna kill me now. That's okay. We could make use of Braid's frightful return. We'll just have to read ahead to chapter 2. Maybe we wait until they get a permanent on the field? Wow, you'd think they were blue. 7 cards and they're still thinking about it. They just use Bloody Betrayal. We could have waited for a bigger card than that. We did a couple of these decks not too recently, but we had a sacrifice trigger on our side. It might be a clue if they have more than one of those. What do we want to do here? Maybe we hold on to that and we just do this. We'll auto pay, gain the life. We use that to bring a creature back if we need to. Let's see if we can hold on to it. They've got 5 mana. They could have a way to take out Liesa. The nice thing is if they try and get rid of LS Core, it just comes back up into our hand. So do I block with Liesa or not? Her ability is going to stay in place whether I lose her or not. No, they're not going to attack, are they? Okay, so maybe I use the black mana after all. Yeah. What is that? That's 4. That's only 2. But if I do it this way, I can exile them and still hang on to Path of Peril. So, what we do first is we attack. And then we do this. That gets rid of, we'll take Visionary at least. And then we can still bring down Elasil Core. And that way we have a blocker that we don't mind if he dies, either from removal or chump blocking. The only drawback is now, I only have 1 copy of Takenuma right now, so we don't have another one we could use to bring a creature back from the graveyard. So if we lose Liesa right now, we're in trouble. He doesn't know it, but since I do have Braid's Frightful Return, it would be in his best interest to just attack and trade me for Elasil Core right now. Oh, sushi. Interesting. Oh, yes. They could always use the blood token if they want. And since they're mono red, they could have an instant at any point in time. So we gotta wait for them to... They're gonna have initiative after everything we do. We gotta wait for them to decide if we get to play or not. So we're gonna make full use of Braid's Frightful Return. We're gonna start with Chapter 1. We may sacrifice a creature. And we will. What do you discard? A land. You were holding on to an extra land? Well, maybe they couldn't afford to play it. If they block with Atsushi's going to be exiled. So maybe they had a spell for 2 mana that could do the final point of damage to Liesa, but they did not want Atsushi to be exiled, regardless. But being able to do that attack with lifelink means I'm up above 20 health, and I've got a lot of leeway here. Phyrexian cards. They could give it haste right now and hit me for 8 points of damage. And they don't. I didn't have any creatures in the graveyard. What do I want to do? They've got all basic lands, so Field of Ruin doesn't do much for me, but I can put Braids in here. And there's nothing that stops Liesa from attacking again. And the big benefit of Atsushi is all of the extra benefits from the options when they die. We are going to take advantage of Braid's ability. And here we start to see the engine, right? Braids lets us sacrifice. Forces them into a choice. They don't want to lose a permanent. And the thing that we just sacrificed gets to come back up into our hand anyway. So Braids and Liesa create quite a nice little circuit themselves. Oh, you know what? It doesn't work that way, does it? Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. The sacrifice. We sacrificed it, and the sacrifice doesn't count the same as the death of a creature. So I didn't get it back. Never mind. Learn something new. They don't create a circuit at all. Oh, no, wait. Do I get it back at the beginning of the next end step? Okay, so the circuit does work. It's because Braids at the beginning and beginning. So here's the thing. These both activate at the beginning of the next end step. So they're still both valid. But Braids is the one that activates first because nobody's died yet. So it goes over until the opponent's turn, which is the next end step for Liesa to activate. So it's just something of a delay here is all. And they did everything they could. And we end up with 7 cards. One more good card and they might have tipped the thing over into balance. They have a nice front rank there with enough power. Alright, so we'll go ahead and show you the deck one last time. We didn't really get enough, we didn't get the red cards, right? We didn't get Jax's out to show off how that could work, or Fable of the Mythbreaker. Or sorry, Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. But yeah, but you saw the little Braids Liesa circuit and the Ratadrabic Liesa circuit. And that's kind of why it's good to have 4 copies of LS Core, because it's legendary and it's only a 2-drop, so it's really cheap to get out. There's sort of like other connections here in this deck that are good, but we need to get Kaya out and running, and we need to get the red cards into play a lot as well. So there's also some neat stuff you can do with a little circuit with Shieldred and cut off the profits. And Cruelty of Gix can also be fun. Or no, sorry, Illicit Shipment, because you can pay for the 3 casualty cost. So you could maybe sacrifice a Braids when Lies is out, and that sacrifice doesn't really hurt you. She'll just go back up into your hand. In the meantime, you get to search for 2 cards at once. So creating a little circuit with the casualty mechanic and something like Lies or Ratadrabic. There's just so many interactions within this combination of cards that we didn't get to everything. But I would encourage you to explore it. So let me know if you create the deck. Let me know if you take it out for a spin. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you would change any of the configuration of it. And we'll leave it there. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining me. This has been Travis for Tpull's Corner. If I probably mentioned it at least once already, but if you're here at the close, remember to like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time. Thanks. Have a good one.